We're recording.
Okay, hi, my name is Mike. I'm with the IT department of the Circle Fruit Company, and this is Intro to Datamax 101. I didn't number these courses, but anyway. What we're going to do today is going to go over some of the hardware parts of this Datamax, what they're called, how to properly load stock, the different kinds of loadable stocks, how to load ribbon, and basic cleaning and maintenance and alignment. So this is a real broad overview. So let's just get into it, okay? This is your roll where all of your label stock is going to reside. You got standard inches of 4-inch core, slides on like that. This also does remove, so you can use this smaller, I'm not sure what diameter is, but it's a smaller core used for some labels, like on mesh bag labels. It's a very common application in production warehouse. This is the roller where your ribbon resides. You see the arrows going that direction. That is the direction that the ribbon unwinds in. You load it on like that, you push it all the way on, and you thread this ribbon underneath, right here in between the capstan roller and that metal shaft, over your print head right here, and up back onto this recoiler. Then I always do is put my 2 fingers on there and just kind of roll it until it gets traction. That's good enough. You want to make sure, one very important thing, if you want to look at the front right here, is that there's no twists on here. So if I were to have done this kind of a little more sloppy, I might have, see, I can't even undo it, but you might have a little roll that's kind of rolled over like this. And if you have a roll like that all the way through, it will never undo itself, and then you'll be missing out on that section of print. So make sure that your ribbon is loaded on correctly and it's flat. Okay? If you want to take it off, you just pop it, rewind it. This pops out to enable easier removal of spent ribbon. This whole part that goes up and down is your print head assembly. It's got a little green handle here, and you pull it down and it locks over this little knob right here. So that's how you lock down your ribbon when you have all your stock loaded. Your print head is this thermal array right here. The best way I found to keep this clean is, because it does get dust and muck on it, is to use like a baby wipe. They work really well. To wipe on there, clean it off, scrape it off. You're going to get some residue, and then it's clean. So, if you're ever having degraded print quality issues, the first thing that you want to do is to clean that print head. Anyway, so this is where your stock rolls in. If you were to load your stock correctly, you open up your print head assembly, take your stock through, and you load it underneath this metal bar right here. Take it through the metal bar, and then you're going to come right out of the front here with your stock. You want to make sure that your stock is pushed all the way up against the inner wall for optimal alignment. Then you take your media retainer, you flip it up, and you slide it in until it just barely touches it. That's just going to keep it from walking around. Okay, so pull forward a little bit. Take your ribbon, load it up through there, lock it down. Should be good to print. Okay, so that's your standard media loading. Now, different types of media. There's stickers, self-adhering, okay, self-adhesive. There's other stickers, and then there's continuous roll stock, and then there's card stock. Now, within your stickered media, there's 2 different kinds. There's thermal transfer, which this kind does not have any built-in tinting to it. So it has to be used with print ribbon, or otherwise nothing will print out on it. Now this is direct thermal, and this has the darkness, the ink built into it. So When the heat from the print head was applied to this media type, it will make it dark. The easiest way to tell which is which, if you don't know, is just scrape your finger on it, push down on it really hard, and it's like a carbon copy. So, you know, you can say, okay, this is direct thermal. I don't necessarily need to use ribbon with the stock. I can print it, and it will print without ribbon. Now this, you rub it all day, and nothing will happen. So anyway, if you're out in the ranches, generally everything you guys use out there is going to be requiring ribbon. So that's the difference between your direct thermal and your thermal transfer roll stock. This is your continuous feed stock. It's just one big long continuous roll. Now, this kind has very limited applications. We use in our pre-size facility. You have to have a cutter on your Datamax if you're going to use that, because there's no way for it to just tear off. So it would feed out one ticket and print it, and then the cutter would cut, and so on. It will just continue on for as many as tickets as you have specified in the print job. This is your card stock. This is perforations at every card. Some of them are different than others, but you see there's a black mark in between these. Some card stock has black marks. Others just have a notch on the side. If you can see, there's a little notch right there. Now that allows your sensor to be able to determine where one label ends and the next one starts. So that's getting into sensor calibration a little bit, which we'll be talking about in a moment. But those are your basic different stock types: card stock, continuous, and roll stock. Within the sensor, so we went over how to load the stock, how to load the ribbon. Now we're doing just a couple really general adjustments. So you load media gate down. With this kind of stock right here that has the labels on it, the sensor determines when to stop the print job, when to start the next one, based on the gap between the labels. Now this sensor mode is called gap mode. That's pretty standard. And if you look down here, right in here, you see this green bar. That is your sensor. See the white line right on there? That white line is going to indicate where the sensor is identified. So if you have this put right there, right in between the labels, you're not going to have very good success, because it's never going to see a gap between the different labels and won't know where to start one print job or the next. So I hit feed right here. Well, it didn't work, unfortunately. Anyway, it's a very well calibrated sensor. Anyway, normally you get a top performance fault. Oh, it moved, that's why. But anyway, you want that sensor to be in the middle of the label so that it can determine where one label stops and the next one starts. So once you put that down, remember, we always want to line up our stock to the edge, the innermost edge. Lock it down, hit feed, and then it's going to feed one label out. And since we have a cutter here, it's cutting it in between every label. Two other adjustments that you have is this right here, which what this will do, this will adjust your print head up or down. I don't know if you can see that moving. It goes up or down. It's kind of a quick and dirty adjustment you can do. See, it goes up or down. Okay. Additionally on here, the one other adjustment that you can do without getting too involved in these is adjusting the pressure of the print head. There are two screws that do that. You see it has an arrow that goes with it. I'm just going to use my keys here because that's all I have right now. But you push down and you turn it, and it'll lock it down one iteration. You can go one step farther, which is all the way locked down. And what it does, that just increases the pressure on that side of the print head against from platen roller to the print head. It will darken your print. It will also reduce the life of the print head drastically. So only do that if it's absolutely necessary. It's generally not one of the adjustments that we recommend doing. So there is basic, really basic overview Datamax 4208, 4210, 4212 operation. If you have cardstock, there's two ways you can load it in. Through the back, you want to go over the roll. If you go under, it will create too much drag and it won't be able to load correctly. Same way, goes out across underneath the metal bar, over the platen roller, and out the front. Now, if you have this kind of stock that has a gap in the notch in the corner, and I have it load upside down so you can see, you want to position your sensor, come around the front here, all the way in on the inside. That way it can determine where one label stops and when the next one begins. Anyway. So there's your general overview of the Datamax I-Class series, of the hardware, the different kinds of stocks, when to use ribbon, when you cannot use ribbon. Please watch the other videos we'll be making shortly to get more in depth on how to calibrate sensors, how to fine-tune your print. Thanks for watching.